staff.
You can't.
You're not ready? Okay, we'll wait.
What? Oh, I started rolling.
I was kidding. Alright, my usual spiel. Hello and welcome to their developer chat. This November the 9th, 2009, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm here with the Chaz, and we're here to answer any and all questions you might have about the developer program, as well as giving you some insight on things that we're working on. I actually have a few announcements before we begin. The first one being that we're currently working on a post that should go up before this meeting is over about it's basically a contest similar to last screenshot contest that we had for the website, but it's for the developer section of the website. Here, let me read something to you guys.
You're outside the box.
Hello, hello. Last month we were excited to introduce a whole new look for there.com. One of the coolest things about the makeover is they gave us a chance to feature images from our very own Shutterbugs Club and show off their terrific work. Now we're asking our developers to help us show potential new members the huge variety of items that can be created through their developer program. This is a great opportunity for you to show off your fantastic designs and promote your own brand. At the same time, we're looking for fresh pictures and videos to help us illustrate many types of items. And got all that? I wasn't talking outside of the box most of the time, right? So it's going to be a really cool event, and it's going to be much like last month's submission thing, and you guys will see that post today, and it will have all the information as to what we're looking for, how to submit the items or the images, etc., etc. Questions, comments, feedback?
You know what would go perfect with that? Is being able to show your prop on your View outfits and to put them on mannequins.
Yeah, when did we get mannequins? That was like a year and a couple months ago.
Anyhow, my second announcement is we're getting really close to our yearly annual charity events, and we are going to be asking for developers this year, because last year there were developers that had an interest in actually donating items for the charity, and we decided this time to actually just get a head start on that and say to everybody, hey, you know what, there's this process. If you guys send us your charity items, we'll submit them for the submissions, and they'll be whatever. That post is also going to be up before the end of this meeting, hopefully, and there will be a whole process. So the way that we're doing it is, and it might actually confuse some people, and I just wanted to make sure that I told you guys aloud so that if you guys had any questions, you guys can ask them. But we're actually going to have one day where people can submit their charity items, and the reason why that is when you submit the item, there's a submission code, and that's what we're asking for. We're going to ask for the submission code, but the submission codes generally expire within a day, usually by the time the maintenance rate hits. So we're basically going to open it on November 30th is the day that we're going to have everyone put submissions in from maintenance to 6 p.m. And if you submit the items and email us the submission codes during that day before 6 p.m., we'll be able to use the submission codes and push them all through. And we're going to do it all on the same day so that, yeah, it'll be a Monday. From opening till 6 p.m. And then, of course, if there are any if there are any extenuating really make it. If we can't do it during that time period, we might be able to work out something, but only if they're able to. Pretty much, we'd have to be able to be on the same page. We couldn't do something like, I can only submit at midnight on Saturdays. I'm gonna say, sorry, I'm not gonna get up at midnight on Saturday to submit your item. I appreciate the sentiment, but I like to. So that should be posted also, and hopefully.
Are we limited to one, or can we do a couple?
I don't think that we're putting any limit. So if you want to, however many charity items, it's great. You know, we're very excited. I mean, I really liked that you guys did it last year. It was so, like, it was so generous. It wasn't even something that we thought about, and then so many of you guys came out and created, you know, a bunch of items, and those really.
Now, the items that are submitted, is that something that you sell all the time, so that you start generating the money for the charities, you know, whatever they may be, or is it something that's on for a limited time and then it's gone?
Yeah, we'll only be selling these charity items specifically during this charity season, so we'll have a limited time. So as soon as they're pushed through submissions, we'll list them. We'll list them all. We'll post a Their Fun Times post. Kate, that's where we'll be posting it. We'll be posting it on the Their Fun Times blog. And the closing date of the charity, that'll be the day that those items will be available. And then, of course, we could probably talk about next year using some of the same items if some people feel like it, but that's something that we have to wait to discuss next year.
Well, it just seems kind of wasteful because it stays in the inventory. I mean, you know, it's something that's there, and unless, of course, you're trying to make limited edition items for some reason.
Well, of course, you know, not only are you able to submit the items directly through us, but you might be able to, you might decide to make the same item for us, that something that you've already make a limited edition item, so maybe have the year on there. It says 2009 holiday charity, so that it's only sold for this charity, while at the same time you have a different version that doesn't have any kind of branding. So, you know, that's all, and that's entirely up to the developer. And of course, you know, we'll discuss anything, you know, that the developers might have questions on regarding. What is the charity? I don't have it off the top of my head. That's the one. UN Refugee. Questions, comments, feedback? And anybody who wants to submit to the Newbie Charity Fund, send all your used items to Antius, and he will distribute them accordingly to his alts. All right, I think that I am now done speaking. Chaz, is there anything in particular that you want to state, announce, talk about before we get into questions?
Sure. How's my voice? Is it loud, too loud, right? Good?
Perfect.
Okay, it's good. Okay, first of all, I just wanted to go over some of the things that you know, we have accomplished over the past couple months since the last developer chat. One of the big things, you know, I mentioned last time was the card games, and as promised, we delivered. We have 2 new card games, and we have the 3 existing card games reworked. I say 2 new card games. Motu Motu's been out for a while, but Habanero Hold'em, we finished that in the 4-seat and 8-seat configuration, and that's you know, new game that features chips and everything. And we went back and fixed up all the existing card games, gin, hearts, and spades, so that way you can now trade them and do all the good commerce things that everybody likes to do. In addition to that, just for the sake of getting cookies, we brought back signs. So now people can now enhance their zones with signs to kind of tell people what's going on and add links and things like that. So we're kind of excited that we've been finally able to bring that back to you guys. And for the builder people out there, we made life a little easier by adding the take one out menu to the My Things, so that you can kind of organize your developer items and drop them a little bit easier. And a couple of those things, the signs and card games, kind of lead me into a big project that's kind of undergo right now. We talked about it at the last town hall meeting, and that's interactivity. So behind the scenes, we've been working on bringing the interactivity to the developers. We currently have a few of the interactive objects in World. And just to give you a little history of that, we had started the new framework for interactivity probably like a year and a half ago. And that's actually the framework that we're using for things like the new card games, the signs, leaderboards, the mannequins, item dispenser, even like the tutorial on the welcome walkway, and more recently, the sparkles. Those are all based off of the new interactivity framework, which, as you can see, we can do a lot of diverse things with. So what we're now working on is how do we bring that interactivity, all those building blocks, to the developers. So what I'm going to tell you is kind of where we're going with this. A lot of things are still being worked on, so I'll just throw in there that this is all subject to change. So if I throw things out right now, it's kind of some of these things are what we're planning to do or would like to do, but as we actually try and implement them and find out how they work, we may change things along the way. But the way we're currently working on implementing this is basically you're going to take your developer item and you're going to submit it as this interactive object spec. It's going to go through the normal submission path. As product submissions will review that the model and textures are all kosher and nothing's been stolen or copyright. And then once the developer gets that object in World, they can then basically configure different features about it. So one that we're working on right now is adding a light source to it. Some of the other things that you may be able to add to it would be like particle effects, like the flames that you see on the torches, animation, sounds. Trying to think of some other examples. Triggers such as action tags, system messages, conditions, avatar getting a certain distance from it, state. So if you click the action tag, it puts the object into a certain state. For example, like opening a door would put the door into an open state and play an animation for the door opening, and then you'd click it again for it to close, or maybe it'd automatically close in 5 minutes. So taking all those interactive building blocks, and we're working on basically how you're going to add those to your developer item once it's in World. Obviously, we need to have some care in there, so that way, we don't have any griefing potential, or we don't have any problems where the object takes the World and eats Vash or something. Once you design out your item in World, what you'll be able to do is then, through some magic which we haven't quite finished designing yet, save that save that off as a config that you'll now be able to sell to other members through the auction system. And you'll be able to do this repeatedly, so you can take your item and configure it several different ways if you'd like. Or for example, if you have version 1 of it, you sell it for a while and you decide you want to change, you can create a version 2 of it and sell both, or discontinue one. But you'd be able to have multiple configurations of that object and world. And as part of the selling of that, what you'll be able to do is basically, lock the configuration. So once you create the item and sell it, kind of the person receiving it, the buyer of that object, they see more of an end product. They see something that has certain functionality that the designer has added. And the developer retains some level of control over how that object is presented and sold. Let's see. Basically, the hope is you'd be able to do everything, trade, sell, return, all the different things that you do with normal developer items today. I think that about covers it. Why don't we open it up for questions about that, or questions in general?
Since there are... Can you guys hear me? Since there are so few of us, I think that we could probably just go ahead and take questions in the box unless it starts to get crazy. So if you guys want to use voice or type in text, just try not to speak over each other or whatever. Just do a hands up and I'll call on you or whatever.
So just to answer Emil's question, at least not initially. I can't say that we'd never include that as part of the feature, but the design right now is there'll be some sort of UI that you'll go in there and you'll be able to configure the different effects that you want, the parameters of those effects, the conditions, whatever state changes you want. So it's going to be more UI driven, where you can configure this object rather than writing a script. There's obvious security issues when you just open up to full scripting that we're not necessarily wanting to address at this time.
Go ahead, Sheets.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, it's from Baby Rocket. He had to leave. He wanted to know what the status were on, like, land vehicles for developers.
Do you mean, what do you mean by land vehicles, like builder buggies or something like that?
Yeah, so I could have, like, a Camaro on the ground in-game.
We still have that on the list of projects we'd like to do. Right now we're kind of focused on the whole interactivity piece of it. But we'd still like to bring builder cars, if you will, into the picture.
Hey, Banshee, I think you could use voice in there. It'd be better for the video.
Well, going back to interactivity, would the adjustments that we make be similar to the mannequin page that we have now?
Yeah, so the UI that we're going to have, so we don't have all of the, we've just released the new UI client, so, a lot of work has been done to bring that into the client, but we haven't finished bringing all of that into the interactivity piece, so we can add UIs there. So for now, the interface will be similar to what you'd use with the mannequin.
The mannequin, and also the weather changing page, that's another similar thing. The thing that bothers me the most about those interfaces is that once you make your adjustment, the page goes blank, makes you close it, and to make another adjustment you have to open a whole new fresh page. Is that interface going away? Is that being replaced by something a little more friendly?
Yeah, the goal to have it is more similar to like the organizer, where it's kind of more responsive. We'll try to do our best to make the interactivity UI usable, even in the web part of it, but we kind of realize that we do have some limitations that that it'll be a little smoother once we get it to the new UI.
Oh, that's good news. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy having to close and open, close and open, close and open every time making a new adjustment.
Yeah, I understand.
Looks like Ant's got a question.
I do. I'm just wondering, will there be any more work done with the work paths, or are we pretty much stuck with what we have for work paths?
I don't know of the plan on when we would work on it. I don't, pretty much with everything, at some point we get around to working on it. I don't know where it fits in with all the other projects, but I wouldn't say that we'd never touch it again. I believe at some point we're going to have to build a lot of this interactivity, at least.
Thank you.
CoolNet, and then Francis, or is it the other way around? Francis and then CoolNet.
It's Francis.
Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button here. No wonder that's not working. Actually, I was just wondering, are we ever going to get the ability to paint male Cuban heels? It's the thing we need to finish off our superhero outfits. We've got the pants now, the form-fitting pants. But then I got to have these giant clunky boots. But if we had like Cuban heel shoes, we'd have sort of a form-fitting shoe, although it's a little pointy in the front.
I can ask if our we have a animator model that's on contract. I could ask if if he has any free time. I know he's got a few projects right now that he's busy with. But if he ends up having some free time, I can ask him about that.
Aren't they already mapped? I mean, they're already done and made and ready to go just about?
I think they're badly mapped or something. There was some reason they weren't given to us like the women's were.
Yeah, there was that, and I also there was talk of making sure that the whole is fully mapped, and I'm not sure if there's any ankle to that without looking at it.
Oh, and they really, really do need to match up to the bottom of the men's fitted legs, ankles. The Cuban heel needs to match in mapping to the fitted men's bottoms.
Right.
What about a prop that can be arranged for those shoes? Feet bend in the middle, so when you're walking, they have a bone or something that moves, and that gives me grief when I try and do an ankle prop.
No, props don't move for us.
Well, when we finally get
Another
the
option,
Cuban
if
heels.
it's a little too difficult for you guys to do, is to take the hiking boot and actually make it a real boot all the way up, give us a boot that we can put on our superhero outfits to complete it. You know, wouldn't work for the really skin-tight outfits, but, it would work for a lot of the superhero costumes.
Right.
See, and then I can create my incredulous man spider costume, patent pending.
So out of the two, which would your preference be? The hiking boot or the male Cuban heels?
Cuban
Cuban
heels.
first, then the hiking boot as a real boot.
Okay.
Question, what type of items can we develop for the giveaway or for the charity?
Pretty much anything that you can think of. I mean, obviously, you're going to want to make it so that people are going to want it. And then at the same time, trinkets tend to sell really well, I think, and T-shirts, maybe. I don't know. Does anybody else have any other suggestions what sold well last year?
Props always seem to be hot. I have new prop developers ready to test, as I said.
Also, if you design something really nice, like for the trees that are out in the charity tree, like people could decorate it for the charity tree.
That is a good point. Some sort of decoration for for their charity tree lots. Those would probably be very popular. Hey, speaking of decorating zones, how about that being able to pull items out of my things? Huh, guys?
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that like the
I like
best thing ever? Don't you kind of like want to go give the Chaz a big sloppy kiss?
Oh, big time. That is like A1, the best.
Yeah, pucker up,
Vash has been trying to give me a sloppy kiss for like the past 2 weeks. And
When was that added, guys?
it was in the last client release, and it's of course in the new UI release, which is an optional patch. I think it actually came out right before the Qt client. It was the last release that we had prior to the new UI client.
It's kind of great to have signs back, but it would be more helpful if they're actually useful. I mean, the space for writing on is so small that, for as a designer's point of view, I couldn't put any information on there whatsoever. So it's useless.
Yeah, oddly enough, we had asked about the signs, what people would like to see, and we pretty much got back, well, re-released the 301 and the 401, and so I guess we kind of just went with that. I kind of can imagine that signs might be would fit in with the whole, they're built on the interactivity framework, so I'm guessing that would be also one of the components of interactivity to build into your objects.
I think
We can design our own signs.
Yeah,
That would be way cool.
basically incorporate the whole, sign technology. I forget, for Sheets and Giggles had a really nice, some sort of inner sign technology or something like that. It was a real nice name for it. But basically incorporating that into your interactive objects.
I really think a sign that would be about the size of a name tag would be perfect to have. You could put, a sales price on it in front of a vehicle. You could put so many different things on it. Plus, it'd work great on the very website.
Or you could actually create little pedestals and create their price is right. Haha, come on down.
What's the possibility of getting a car prop I mean, so if we design something like we paint thing, and so we don't have to pull the car out, which either vibrates out of the building, falls through the floor, or gets stolen, we can actually just put out the prop with the paint job on it.
I don't think that would be a prop. That would be a droppable
car
item.
mannequin.
Yeah, I mean,
A mannequin car.
there's there's been talk about basically doing the same thing with vehicles. With the mannequin technology is allowing you to configure this vehicle mannequin, if you will, with a product ID of one of your vehicles, and then basically that vehicle would show for sale, maybe allow you to scale it so you could do a quarter size version of your buggy or whatever. But we're not currently working on that. We just kind of been throwing it around behind the scenes.
I think Ant had a question. I think it was very important too. He had a hand up a whole lot. So I'm sure that he would really like to ask his question now. If I would just shut up so he can ask it.
That's what I was thinking. No, just kidding. I'm just wondering. Okay, about props. It's we figured out how to do stationary props where you just attach to the master. But the problem is if you want an object to actually still be somewhere attached to a hand, like you're holding or dragging something, the animation of the hand really ruins the model. So is there a way you could actually freeze the hand so it doesn't move?
Well, there's cup position, drink position. That's basically it.
Yeah, unfortunately, those are all built into the animations. So I would say not easily. I mean, we could come out with different poses. Like, currently we have the treat bag and the drink pose.
Can you make one that says drag pose?
Say that again?
Can you make one that says drag pose? Not drag queen, drag as like you're dragging something behind you or you're pulling something.
Drag or pulling?
Um,
How about walk the dog?
Yeah, like if someone wants to actually make a dog prop in front of them, it'd be a lot easier if that leash did not move, or the arm that's holding the leash doesn't move.
Yeah,
So you get the real...
So as the person's running, it wouldn't move.
Yeah, that's the thing, is when you're running or moving, your arm moves, so it doesn't look like it's attached to the hand anymore, and it kind of defeats the idea behind it.
Right.
You know what I'd love for Christmas would be holding something over your shoulder like a big sack, so you're holding on to something.
Exactly.
We need
Actually,
Hanukkah stuff.
I believe Vash has started a thread in the forums on different emotes. It might be worth it kind of listing emotes that would be appropriate for props, and just kind of make a note that you're talking about a prop emote, because it kind of would fall into the same thing. You would have to get the animator to design these. But if you can come up with some prop emotes that we could add to the list that you see, that would be really helpful.
I had an idea. I don't know if it's workable. You know how you have your clothes and it's like, things that are all together, and then you have like shoes, shirts, whatever? Could we get something like that for our props? So we don't have to dig in our inventory for it. We just open that and,
So you're talking about like the Change Me?
Like the Change Me, except it's like for props, so that, it's like this is attached to this note or whatever. It'd be really great when you interact them so that we can actually use more than one prop. And we'd have, okay, this is attached to the leg prop. You can't use it with something that's already attached to the leg, but you could use it with a hat prop, or,
Yeah, one of the first things was kind of getting this new UI done. And we finally got to the point where we released it, and a lot of work has been done kind of making things work pretty similar to the way they did before, and that actually is not all that easy to do. It took a lot of work to do that. But now the next step is, now that we have all this new cool UI stuff that we can use, is going back and looking at how we do inventory in general. So I can picture something like your requests fitting in with that.
It'd be really handy whenever you get around to making, where we can actually have one or two props out at the same time.
Did Cool get to ask his question? Is that who was waiting?
Yeah.
CoolNet has been waiting for a question.
Yeah, I actually have two questions because now I just brought it up. The first question is, when you submit an item, doesn't really matter which one it is, when you get the code, it brings up your browser automatically. Is there a way you can not make it that default? Or like, if you want to have like a check mark, if you want to have your browser open after you click finish or something like that? Because every time when that opens up, it freezes up the client while the Internet Explorer starts to run, if that's possible. If you could try to make a check mark or something like that to not make it defaulted to your browser.
You mean you want it to open a new browser window each time?
No, not to open up the browser at all. Like, cause like, let's say
Like
you
have the option to open it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand that. So when you submit an item, are you talking about when you're actually submitting the item?
Yeah, when it takes you through the stages, it like does the scanning and then it gives you the code, and right after that code, your browser pops up.
Right. Well, the last part of submitting the item you have to do through the browser, because you're actually submitting it to the site. So if it didn't open the browser, you actually wouldn't submit it.
Well, you could submit it if you go to your developer site page on the client and then click on submit item and then just copy the code and paste it into your browser in your client.
For new members, that might be actually pretty difficult. Like, they might not know that that's how you're supposed to do it. So the browser opening actually makes it so that it just, it just points to them, look, this is what you need to do, so that they can do it. Otherwise, if we didn't have them open it, then obviously a new developer would think that they've submitted it and then it not actually be submitted at all.
Okay. And my second question is, I remember I brought this up, I think in the map, like a few months ago, and I remember it was supposed to be in the suggestion board, but I didn't hear anything back. I remember that one of my questions was, on your My Submission page, is it possible, can you have a give a gift feature on it just like the auction? So instead of, let's say you go into your auction page and click on the give a gift that way, can you go into your My Submission and have a give a gift feature on there as well?
I believe that is part of the suggestion board, and I think that's as far as it's gotten so far.
Okay.
No, this question gets asked a lot. It's a wiki page. So we have our own internal wiki, and we have a list on an internal website. So it's not a real corkboard. Everyone in the company actually has access to read, no matter where they are in the country.
I think
Actually,
it should be
we've,
printed out at everybody's desk.
Well, actually, I mean, we have done several of the items off of it. I know Signs, bringing back signs was one of those items.
Yeah, we managed to whittle some of that stuff off. A lot of the really great things that we've done is actually pretty good. Like we've actually made really good progress, and a lot of the really good changes have come from the suggestion board.
I know, like bringing more drops in, space zones. There's been quite a few that.
Foods in space. That's the behind-the-scenes title for that, by the way. If you guys ever wanna. Hoods in space, spelled out just like that. Lots of I's and O's and A's. I don't know exactly how many O's and I's and A's, but that's our project name for that. I'm just kidding. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, I've been trying to put my hand up.
Sorry, it's really difficult. I've realized to keep track of hands up in the chat box because everyone's chatting. Go for it, Kate.
Okay, this is props. One of the biggest frustrations that we all have, especially at events where everybody's really cooking and hopping and doing all kinds of things, is that we can't wear more than one prop at one time. I came to some friends today in World and I said, I had a cool idea for a prop for your event that would, show you as staff at your event, and I'm willing to make these for you. And they said, oh, we think it's a cool idea, but we have to hold these other props in our hands, and we can't hold them at one time. Is there, I think that should be high up on the board. Is that coming along anytime soon, the ability to attach more than one prop?
I don't know about any time, because the big project is, of course, the interactivity piece, so that's kind of the number one project. There has been some work done on doing something like with the part system where you can put basically attach pieces separately. So you could have, a hand part and a head part and a shoulder part and what have you, and kind of mix them all together. But I wouldn't say that's, we're going to necessarily see that anytime soon before the interactivity piece.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's just a matter of, the time that's spent on that, does take away from the work that's being done on the interactivity. And there's actually a lot to the interactivity, because not so much just, giving some parameters that you can, change the items, but, creating the whole method that you'll be able to resell those items. So there's quite a bit involved in your interactivity. So, we're kind of trying to stay focused on that.
Answer. Go for it.
Can you hold on 1 second? Oh, hold on.
Sure. While we're waiting, I'm going to take a moment to ask for the developers who are really good at the developer program and the ins and outs. We have a twice a week forum post thing going on where we're asking for tips and tricks about various aspects of our virtual world, and recently we posted one about the developer program. What are your 3 tips and tricks or words of advice you would share with someone wanting to get started in the developer program? I'll post the link in the box. And if any of you guys have any great feedback, we'd really appreciate it. We're gathering all of these tips and tricks and feedback for for the usual stuff. And you guys gotta admit, you guys gotta love that we're asking for the feedback and asking for the tips and tricks. You asked for it, so now we're asking for it.
I'm back, by the way.
Be quiet. Oh no, wait. There was a question. Disky was asking a question.
Yeah. Okay, now we know that the can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello, hello? Hello?
Go ahead, Disky.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. You know how you made the car that everybody hates because now that the car is no longer available, we have a paint job we can't use for it? Well, could you do the same thing with like props or with the drop items where the designer can submit paint jobs for the items so they can make several different versions of like chairs without having to remake the prop or resubmit the actual drop thingy, you know, the really expensive one, and people can just buy that one and then just get the paint thing. That way, if that developer goes away, well, they wouldn't be selling the paint jobs anyway, so it wouldn't matter. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not quite.
Okay, well, you know the problem that we have with the paint jobs is the fact that we don't have the body anymore.
Right.
Okay, so a lot of people feel like, well, I've got all these paint jobs for wheels and for a body that nobody's going to buy. I feel very screwed over, you know. But if the developer was the person who had the body as well as the paint jobs, then if they went away, well, the body wouldn't be there, nor would the paint jobs, so it wouldn't matter. So if, you know, we had the ability, we wouldn't have to submit like really expensive, heavy things, like a pre-designed car of our own choosing that in 4 different colors. It would be 4 different paint jobs for that one item that people could buy in auctions. Since it's all from the same designer, it would be cheaper and more affordable for them to do.
So, like, basically using the same model and then and basically creating a painter item out of that.
Yeah.
Um,
For any item or prop that somebody wants to design, whether it's a drop or a prop item or something like that. For instance, like I did the Humpty Dumpty and I did Mrs. Humpty Dumpty. I had to submit 2 Humpty Dumptys when it's the same Humpty Dumpty, but the paint jobs are different.
Right. Yeah, I think the idea makes a lot of sense where you'd be able to retexture something without having to resubmit the whole model each time.
And people wouldn't
something
have
to
to
think
worry about it, you know. Yeah, because if the item was no longer available because the developer left, well, they wouldn't be selling the paint jobs for it anyway because they have left.
Right. Yeah, it's a good idea.
All right, well, we've got only a few minutes left in the hour. Is there any other last-minute questions that you guys have? Thanks, Green. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, can we get that, if possible?
Yeah, it's probably just a matter of time freeing up to work on the other styles. You know, there was voting and there was a Kilroy sign. We kind of squeezed the basic text signs in to get those done.
I seem to recall a TV that the pictures changed and stuff like that. You know, a sign like that would be really cool. Or, you know, the ability to change the pictures would be really handy for designers so they can show different outfits and whatnot.
Right.
Is that issue with the Kilroy signs fixed though?
Well, you mean with having the heart? I believe that nothing has changed with the existing Kilroy sign.
Okay, because I thought I heard something about somebody being able to do something to them to make them unusable. Because that's why I haven't had mine out forever. I've got one that's got posts dating back to 2003 on it. And because of the nostalgia with it, I would hate to have it lost to some errant person just trying to be ignorant.
Right.
Any more questions, comments?
Oh yeah, I've got one of those forever shooting guns, but I'm afraid to pull it out because I hear they can disappear and you can't get them again.
The Renegade?
No, I think the Renegade is actually retrievable, but mine is not retrievable. I wish it was retrievable. But I heard that if it disappears for some reason, it's not in your inventory and it's gone. So I've been afraid to pull mine out.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to say thank you all for coming to our Their Developer Chat. We're going to call it a night. Thank you all again, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget, we have a town hall meeting coming up soon. Watch the Their Fun Times newsletter for announcements on that. And then, of course, the 2 announcements that I made earlier today, those should be posted any minute now, or if they're not already posted. And see you all next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
guys.
Chaz.